Hello, everybody, and welcome to Module 3. Today, we're going to be talking about HR planning. So exactly what is HR planning? Well, HR planning is basically determining the requirements that we have for our human resources and how we're going to meet those requirements so that we can carry out all of the plans of the organization. So basically, it's the process of being able to analyze and identify the need for and the availability of the human resources so that we can meet our company's objectives. What are the responsibilities within HR planning? Well, the HR managers and subordinates need to gather and collect information from other managers so that they can use that when they need to forecast and create HR projections, so that top management can take that into account when they are creating their strategic planning and, of course, setting organizational goals. So what does this mean? Well, first of all, let's take a look and think about the global economy or the global world that we live in today, especially after having been hit by the pandemic. Now, many people are even more available to work remotely. And so you can be working from Spain for a school that is located, for example, in Switzerland. So let's take a look. What are the globalization forces that we can see that are affecting us in terms of human resources? Well, first of all, the population changes that have been taking place globally. For example, the fact that people are having more children in Asia and fewer children in Western countries, of course, will make trends change. Then, of course, the interdependence that we have economically worldwide, where how something that happens in China, like, for example, and now I'm not going to be talking about health-related issues due to the pandemic, but for example, the fact that China basically shut down in spring of 2020 affected worldwide being able to receive raw materials, being able to manufacture processes, etc. And still these effects are being felt today. Then, of course, there are regional alliances such as the European Economic Union or NAFTA, and how joining forces and, for example, being able to work within the European Union with other countries in the European Union with no frontiers have made it that much easier to be able to work and span borders. And of course, global communications such as the internet, messaging systems, Zoom, etc., have made it that much easier for businesses to become globalized. What types of global organizations then can we think of now? Well, I'm not talking about names, but the types of industries and the type of sectors that they're in. Well, for example, importing and exporting. These kind of organizations basically buy goods from one country, bring them to another, and there are companies that manufacture goods in their own country and sell them outside of their own country. There are also companies, global organizations that are dedicated to multinational enterprise. For example, companies such as Unilever, which has subsidiaries across the world and that manufacture across various countries and are located in many countries at a time. These are called multinational companies. And of course, global organizations are basically global companies that have corporate units in a different number of countries and that are integrated to operate worldwide. For example, we can think of companies such as Nestlé, where Nestlé is actually, if I'm not mistaken, I believe their headquarters are based in Switzerland as well, or in France, one of the two countries, and they actually have a hub here in Spain, which is the, if I'm not mistaken, the digital talent hub, where all of those strategic aspects that have to do with IT and other aspects of technology are actually headquartered from here in Barcelona. Now, in terms of global employment, it's great because we can really become part of large worldwide companies, and we can work as long as we have our laptop and our internet connection from home, even though our company is located in another country. But what kind of issues can arise from this kind of trend? Well, of course, there are issues having to do with employee relations. As HR managers, if we don't have everybody working in our office, complying with certain guidelines and rules, how are we going to be able to ensure that they are complying? So there are issues that are related to global labor management relations. There are issues having to do with discrimination regulations globally. If, for example, in Spain, there is one specific law that has to do with discrimination, and in the US, that law is different, which one will be the one that the HR department must comply with? And of course, there are other issues pertaining to health, safety, security, etc. And what other kinds of factors can affect global human resource management? Well, of course, then there are political factors that can come into play, economic factors, legal and cultural factors that can come into play. So what are the cultural factors? These are very important ones that can affect us as HR managers, because of course, even within a small country, like for example, Spain, each region of Spain has its own specific culture, and thus there may be a different way in which you must approach an employee that is based in southern Spain than an employee that is based in Madrid, for example. So basically, culture will affect everything from the work ethic, the value system, belief, actions, the way that a person manages their emotions, etc. Now, there are many theories that we can talk about, but basically for this class, we're going to talk about the cultural dimensions developed by Gert Hofstede, where he said that there are 5 different factors that we must bear in mind when we are working across different cultures. First, the power distance. This is basically within a given country, what is the inequality among people of a nation? And this is, for example, being able to determine how many people within that country are middle class, how many people are high class, etc. And what is the quality of living that they can have? For example, the power distance here in Spain is much lower than, for example, countries such as Brazil. Why? Because the middle class is not, the distance between being middle class and being high class is not as high as, for example, in a country like Brazil, where middle class may never reach high class, for example. Then individualism. This also has to do, and is very ingrained in a cultural behavior, where there are countries that people value community over individuality or individualistic values, and in other countries they may be more individualistic. Then masculinity over femininity, and this doesn't have to do with being feminine or being masculine. This has to do with, for example, something that is very much spoken about today, the patriarchy, and how that can affect the rules and how that can guide people's behavior within a specific culture. Then uncertainty and avoidance. There are people and there are countries which, for example, can thrive in more chaotic situations, and there are countries that would be completely upended if they were living in a chaotic situation. And here we can think about, for example, Northern Europe versus Southern Europe. There are basic structures, something as simple as knowing how to be in line and wait your turn in Spain is something that apparently nobody has been taught. And for example, in the UK, people know exactly how to wait in line and how to wait their turn and be patient. And these are the kind of things that are covered by Hofstede's culture dimensions. And then the last one is the long-term orientation. This has to do with to what degree people are working towards long-term values as opposed to working on short-term values where they value the present more than the future. Other economic factors. Well, what kind of sources can we see of the economic factors? Well, we have to think about the differences between their economic, political, legal, and cultural systems. Then we have to also think about the regional trade and political alliances. And then, of course, the global productivity and the strategic HR management. What does this mean? Well, for example, how can we increase our effectiveness as an organization and our productivity in the face of global influences and foreign competition? So what else can we look at when we are talking about HR planning itself? HR planning basically ensures that there are the right type of people in the right number at the right time and place who are trained and motivated to do the right kind of work at the right time. So what does this mean? The right number is the number which fills the vacancies in our organization. The right time is that they are placed there as soon as there is a vacancy. The right kind is that they are the people with the correct qualifications and skills needed to carry out that job position. The right place is where the qualifications match the job. It doesn't have to do with the location. It has to do that they are placed in the job that is the optimum one for them to carry out their and to be fully exploited, not in the incorrect way, but that they can reach their full potential. And economically, the most useful is that they are doing the job that is worth the salary that they are getting paid. So as you can see, HR planning, again, ensures the right type of people in the right number at the right time and place who are trained and motivated to do the right kind of work at the right time. What is the purpose of HR planning, actually? Well, effective HR planning ensures that everybody is being used to their maximum potential. They can be developed fully, they reach their maximum potential, and they are receiving a salary that is in accordance with what they are providing to the company. So HR planning actually includes forecasting and inventory. The inventory is basically taking a look at the present human resources that we have now, which allows us to see the present supply that we have of available people in our workforce, and also helps us to discover talent that is within our organization that is not being used fully. So for example, there may be a person in your organization that is not in the right place, meaning their skill set and their full potential has not been used or maximized in that current job role. And so they would be better equipped to be in a different job role. And so HR planning does not only focus on people, but also on their working conditions and in the relationship in which they work. So how can we assess future requirement of HR? And I'll actually talk about this in more detail later on today. Well, basically, forecasting is the process of getting the right number of qualified people to the right job at the right time. And it can be defined as manpower planning, MPP, personnel planning, PP, or human resource planning, HRP. Manpower planning basically is preparing for the future. It helps us to understand that there is, of course, a certain amount of time in which we are needing somebody, but we are not finding them. And so that time of work requires us to be able to find the person in the quickest way, so that there is no problem within our workforce, so that there is a significant lead time. The sooner that we can forecast that need, the easier it is for us to be able to ensure that there is no hiccup and that there is no issues with our productivity, so that we can reduce this lead time significantly. Manpower planning is the process in which we formulate plans to fill future openings based on the job analysis of positions that are expected to open. For example, we know, since we are strategic HR managers, we know that the company plans to expand, and next year we are going to be opening up a division that is for diversifying our business. Well, we are going to need to be able to forecast those And we are going to begin to formulate a plan, basically the blueprint in which we are going to be able to fill those future openings, and determining the job positions that will be needed and skill set, etc., for the people who will need to cover those jobs. So this brings me to the end of the first part of the class. Sorry, because this class is a bit lengthier than others. I will do my best to compact it and make the videos brief. I will be right back with the second half.